What's up, everybody? I'm here at my Week 4 NFL DraftKings picks. This time we're going to be taking a look at sleepers and value plays. Be sure to check out my main Week 4 picks video if you haven't seen it yet. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so Jordan Howard was a guy that I talked about yesterday, and at 3,700, he is just too cheap not to talk about again. And he's definitely not a sleeper. He's going to be a very, very popular play, and with good reason. You know, when he got into that Dallas game last week, he did pretty well. He put up 13.2 points. And the real reason everybody wants him is because he's going to get looks in the passing game. And if they get down in this game against Detroit, in Chicago, then it's obviously going to be a passing situation. Now, a lot of people I've seen are actually saying that they think that the Chicago Bears could win this game. This appears to be a good spot for them. I don't know about that. But regardless of how you think this game goes, Jordan Howard has a spot in it. If they get up and they have to run the ball, he's going to get the carries. If they get down and they have to throw the ball, he's going to get some targets. So there's really no way you can go wrong with Jordan Howard. Now, for me, I 100% am considering playing him in a cash game situation. I think it is 100% viable if you want to put him in a flex position or maybe go ultra cheap at an RB2 spot. So I really like this play. Now, I said earlier in the week in my other picks video that I wasn't sure if he wasn't going to be too popular. He might be a sleeper. He's going to be really, really, really popular. Like, I can't stress it enough. At this price, you know, at the time I made that first video, his point projection on the main fantasy website that I use was at 10.6 points, I think it was. Now he's sitting at 15.4 projected points, and that's a big bump. Like 5 points, that is quite a bit of a bump, especially on this website that I use. So I like the play a lot. I think he's going to be popular. In big tournaments, I'm probably going to stay away from him because he's just going to be so popular because people love to go with these cheap running backs in these big tournaments so they can pay up for higher priced wide receivers. But I really, really like the play this week. Okay, so next up is Terrelle Pryor, and you guys knew I couldn't go this whole video without mentioning Pryor. I mean, at $4,300, he's probably the most interesting play on the entire slate, honestly. Like, he is such an intriguing player because of, they were passing with him. He ran it in a wildcat formation. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a wildcat if he was throwing the ball. But anyway, he was catching passes. It was just an absurd game, a game that we haven't seen from a professional NFL player in a long, long time. So it's a lot of fun to watch. Now, at $4,300, he is so underpriced. Like, for what the potential we saw out of him last week, he's going against the Washington Redskins, who are hurt right now in the secondary. Now, all signs are pointing towards Josh Norman shadowing Terrelle Pryor again. Now, Norman is a guy who is significantly undersized when it comes to facing up against Terrelle Pryor. So we're going to have to see how Pryor tries to take advantage of that size. And who knows, maybe Norman won't match up, but I assume I would be shocked if he doesn't shadow Pryor the entire game, because Pryor is 100% the biggest weapon, if not the only main weapon that the Browns have right now. I mean, you can make an argument for Duke Johnson and Crowell, of course, but, those guys are pretty dependent on, their offensive line and other players around them, whereas, Terrelle Pryor is just bullying and manhandling everybody around him, whether they suck, they're great, they're a star, it doesn't really matter. He's trying to just, put them in his highlight reel. So the thing that scares me about Pryor the most, I think, is how inconsistent he's been these first few weeks. Now, he's still getting his targets. In week 1, he had 7. Week 2, he had 10. In week 3 against the Dolphins, which he went off, we all know, he had 14 targets. So he's had his targets all year, but last week was the first week of the season where he's actually put it together. And in fact, that was the first game all season where he's had more than 3 receptions. So in week 1, he had only on those 7 targets, he only had 3 catches for 22.7 yards a reception. So the Browns are trying to get an 80-yard touchdown out of him every single time they throw Pryor the ball. And I mean, can you really blame him? But so I think that's the biggest thing that scares me. But now the Dolphins, got shredded by him. So that's put teams on higher alert. It's going to be interesting to see how the Redskins defense really decides to attack Pryor. But even with that said, at this price, you cannot ignore him. Now, in cash games, I can't believe I'm saying this, but in cash games, I am going to play Terrelle Pryor. I think he's too cheap. I think he only needs to get to about 15 points or so to really be worth what you have to pay for him, I think. And yeah, I honestly, I just truly can't believe I'm saying that. But cash games, Terrelle Pryor will be in my lineup, I think. Now tournaments, I think I'm going to stay away from Pryor, not because I don't like to play in tournaments, but just because I think he's going to be so popular in tournaments that I may just want to go ahead and look somewhere else in that price range. I mentioned it in yesterday's video when I was talking about Terrell Williams. Terrell Williams is a good option. He's only $100 more. Jamison Crowder is a good option. He's only $100 cheaper. There's some other guys around there. Steve Smith Sr. is a guy I'm interested in because I think most people are going to be on Mike Wallace in that Ravens Oakland game. So I like Pryor a lot, and he does scare me a little bit, but he is he's a specimen of an athlete, and it's really going to be interesting to see how they go about using him. So I like Pryor, and he's a guy you have to consider at this price. Okay, so enough about Pryor. I've talked about him quite a bit already. So moving on to my third and final value play, and this could be a sleeper or a value play, however you want to view it. I'm viewing it as a value play because I think it might come up in popularity a little bit in these next few days. But the guy I want to talk about next is Carlos Hyde. And honestly, this is a really intriguing play, and I think DraftKings has priced him incorrectly because if we take a look here, Carlos Hyde put up 23.3 points in Week 1 against the Rams. We all remember the game. It was a Monday night, just snooze fest of a game. He was $5,600 then. Well, then he goes and faces the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. Tough spot. Panthers are good defense. They were getting blown out. They had to throw the ball quite a bit. Only put up 7 points. So his price goes down, right? He goes down to $4,400. That's a pretty big bump right there down. But nevertheless, he's facing the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. $4,400. Drops 28.5 points. Rushes for over 100 yards. Almost 5 yards a carry. He's been in the end zone twice in that game. Even had a catch, which he doesn't get many. And, he had a great game. Almost 30 points against the Seattle Seahawks. Well, here we are in Week 4. He's going up against the Dallas Cowboys in San Francisco. His price is now down $200, even cheaper at $4,200. He's been in the end zone 4 times this season. He's had a pair of catches. He doesn't do much in the receiving game. Usually it's just a complete 100% dump off, and he'll pick up a yard or two. So, I guess you can kind of slate him in for at least 1 extra point on that PPR reception. So, to go into Seattle and drop almost 30 points, that was his biggest game of the season. He put up more points against Seattle in Seattle than he did at home against the LA Rams. So I like this spot a lot for Hyde. They're going to run a lot of plays. There's a good chance this game is going to be a lot higher scoring than a lot of people are expecting. Hyde's getting all of the red zone he's getting all the red zone carries so far, basically. So I like Carlos Hyde a lot, and at $4,200. He's not a guy I'm going to be taking a look at cash games, I don't think. But in tournaments, this is going to be a really good, cheap option if you don't want to go with Jordan Howard specifically, because they're pretty similarly priced, if you believe it or not. They're not, right neck and neck, but they're close enough to where you can kind of make the argument that this could be a good leverage or pivot play. So I like Carlos Hyde a lot, and he's going to be somebody I'm going to be taking a look at. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about Carson Palmer. Now, this is a great. I can't stress enough how good of a bounce back spot this is for Carson Palmer. He's coming off of a game where he threw 4 interceptions on the road in Buffalo. Everybody's going to be off of him. He's set $6,300, which is easily the cheapest he's been. In fact, $6,300 is the cheapest Carson Palmer has been in the past 16 DraftKings games. So the past 16 NFL regular season weeks, $6,300 is the cheapest that Carson Palmer has ever been in that span. The next closest would be $6,500, and that would be back against the Minnesota Vikings. That week he put up 23 points. So I don't think Carson Palmer is necessarily a lock for 30 points ever because of how useful the ground game is in Arizona. They run the ball very, very well with David Johnson, as you can imagine. So, but I really like this bounce back spot. Nobody's going to be on him. He's cheap. If you can pair him with the right person, with the right particular player, and stack him together, this could be a really, really, good play and could pay big dividends for whoever, nails it properly. So, there's a lot of different routes you can go, but Carson Palmer is definitely going to be a guy that I'm going to be playing in big tournaments just because I think he is too cheap to pass up in this particular situation. It's a good spot for him, and I just don't really see where, the Cardinals lose this game. So I like this spot a lot for Carson Palmer, and I love the price. So next up, I want to talk about Will Fuller. Now, this is a really, really interesting play because he started off in the season so hot. He dropped 24.7 points, had 11 targets. He had over 100 receiving yards in his first 2 games. He's had, nearly double-digit targets every single game this season. But he's coming off a horrible game against the New Orleans Patriots. In fact, the entire Texans team is coming off a horrible game. But they went up into Foxborough, and, this is a common thing we see. We see teams that play well in their division or whatever, or against other, non-division associates, and they go and face the New England Patriots, and they get embarrassed. And then everybody doesn't want to play them because they think, oh, they're a bad team. They've been exposed. I don't think that's the case. I think they really just were outcoached. I think they were outplayed. I don't think they prepared for the game like they should have been. Remember, it was a Thursday night game. So it would make sense if you want to stack Fuller and Brock Osweiler. I'm probably not going to do that. I really like playing Will Fuller by himself. I think this is another, if you haven't noticed, I love playing players in bounce back situations. Anytime a player is coming off a poor game, it's a good spot to see if you can predict, and jump back on that bandwagon at the right time. I think this is a good spot for Will Fuller. I think if anybody is going to be picking a particular receiver in this game, they're going to be looking more towards DeAndre Hopkins' game. This kind of has more of a DeAndre feel to the game. So I kind of want to do a pivot off of that. And honestly, I think that, the Tennessee Titans have nobody in that secondary that scares me. So you very well could see Fuller and DeAndre both get in the end zone, at least once, both have over 100 receiving yards. Because, really the only other guy that could take any of their volume away in the pass game would probably be Lamar Miller. I'm not worried about Ryan Griffin or anything like that. So it makes it pretty easy to decide who you want to get involved. So I really like Will Fuller. Okay, so the final guy that I want to talk about is Cole Beasley. Now, at $3,900, he is certainly not as cheap as he has been in the past. In fact, in the past 16 regular season games, this is the most expensive Cole Beasley has been on DraftKings. But with that said, everything is pointing towards Dez Bryant not playing. And even when Dez Bryant was playing, just take a listen to some of these numbers. 12 targets, 8 receptions. 6 targets, 5 receptions, 7 targets, 7 receptions. Those are his first 3 games this season, and he has yet to be in the end zone and has put up, the lowest amount of points he's put up this season have been 12.5. And at $3,900, can you really complain? He may even see a bump in targets now that Dez Bryant's probably not going to play. I know Dez is listed as day-to-day, I think, as we speak, but he has a hairline fracture in his leg, so I don't expect him to play at least for a few weeks unless he's just some kind of freak of nature who can heal up in a few hours. So I really like Cole Beasley. Dallas Cowboys are going to be able to run a significantly higher amount of plays this week going up against the San Francisco 49ers and Chip Kelly's offense. So I really, really like the spot for Cole Beasley. He's definitely a good sleeper play. I don't know if I want to go as far and say that he is considerable in cash games. I don't think I'm going to play him in cash games. I think for a safer floor, you can pay up for just a couple $100 more. I would say I'd feel a lot safer going with like a Jamison Crowder, or you can pay up I think it was like $400 more or so and get Terrelle Pryor, which I mentioned earlier in the video. So I like Cole Beasley in tournaments a lot. He's getting his targets, he's hauling in those catches. He's a guy that Dak Prescott likes to throw the ball to. So I like Cole Beasley a lot. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys gave me a great response on my previous few videos. Thank you so much for that. Be sure to always let me know down in the comment section how I can make these videos better. Let me know if you think some of these plays are good. Let me know if you think I'm a complete and utter idiot in some of these picks. Whatever you think, just let me know. I want to hear it. I'm all for having a good conversation in the comments section. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.